Welcome to the Pat White Show.
Well, my apologies for interrupting this particular video. I have a request that I'd like to pass along to you. Apparently on YouTube, if you want to get people to see who you are and what you're doing, you need to have people like what you're doing and subscribe to your program, subscribe to your channel. That's something I haven't done since I started. I just said if they like it, they'll watch. If they don't, they don't. But apparently there's an algorithm. And that algorithm says that, well, you have to do something or else they're going to bury me somewhere. So if you get an opportunity, I would appreciate you clicking on the like if you like it and subscribing if you want to. And apparently it'll help me out. Beyond that, hope you enjoy what I'm doing. Well, apparently down in Indianapolis, civil war has broken out between the Attorney General and the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee down at the State House. The lady's name is Liz Brown. She's from Fort Wayne. Know who she is. Her daughter and my daughters went to high school together. That's the knowledge that I have about her. Really don't know her personally. But apparently something happened involving a bill that came out in the state of Indiana, and Todd Rokita said something to a radio host by the name of Casey Hendrickson on WOWO back in April, I believe it was April 30th, saying that this bill that had to do with the immigration was not passed or was let to die in Liz Brown's committee because, according to Todd Rokita, that Liz Brown, quote, has a family member who's an illegal alien. That's what he said in this interview with Mr. Hendrickson on WOWO. Well, Ms. Brown, who is a lawyer, by the way, became very upset about it, and she has now, filed charges of sort. Now, according to her office, she says the following. Senator Brown does not have an illegal alien relative. This claim by Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita is blatantly false and is meant to be misleading to the Indiana constituents to make them think that Senator Brown has a personal conflict in performing her duties as the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Well, okay, there's that side came out. So, but then she went on to confirm that she has filed an official grievance and requested an investigation into Todd Rokita's comments to the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Committee. We're fighting back and forth. So you have a state senator fighting with the attorney general. Well, they're all fighting about a particular bill called the House Bill 1531. Now, it would require local law enforcement, whether it's the sheriff or the police department, to comply with federal detainer notices by requested on undocumented aliens that, say, the sheriff or the city police have in custody. Seems pretty reasonable. It would also, now here's the other thing, it would also ban employers from hiring unauthorized residents. I mean, if you got a gardener who's not registered illegal alien, you can't hire him. If you got a cook or someone in your back staff of your restaurant who's not an authorized, who's an illegal alien, you can't hire him, or else you be charged and get a fine or jail time or who knows whatever. So, the bill passed out of the House by a vote of 64 to 26. And then it went over to the Senate. See, the Senate gets assigned to a committee, and in this case, it's a bill about the law, so it goes to the Judiciary Committee, of which Liz Brown is the chairperson. She didn't let it come up for a vote. And that was a concern. Just let it die right there. Now, the person who introduced it was Representative J.D. Prescott, and when asked about this, he said, hey, go ask Liz Brown. Wouldn't talk about it. Said, yeah, I'd go ask Liz Brown. All right. Now, here's the problem. She's saying that, look, there's a federal law, House Enrolled Act 1393, and it would require law enforcement officials to notify federal immigration authorities about an undocumented immigrants that they have in their custody. So she's saying, it's a federal law that's going to do this. Why do we need a state law when we got a federal law should be handling the entire thing? So in some ways it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Federal law does that. I'm still wondering about the secondary law that says You can't have somebody on your staff or somebody working for you who's an undocumented alien. That wasn't addressed in this entire conversation, so I don't know where that stands. That one still is kind of puzzling to me. So, according to Liz Brown, she's recommending what's going on for the federal things, the House Enrolled Act 1393. Well, so Todd Rokita, he's back in the fray, and he says, Brown either, quote, provided inaccurate or unclear information to me and others in the past, or she is backtracking now. He's doubling down, saying she's either lying to me in the past or she's trying to backtrack the whole thing because he was right and she was wrong. Well, so he says, hey, Liz, you want to discipline me? Bring it on. Everybody else is trying to do it. And he said, this is the whole concept is this is the weaponization of the Indiana court system in an attempt to silence me, Todd Rokita says. And he said the people of this state are tired of sending representatives to Indianapolis who really don't represent them. Not sure what he means by that. But he's also accusing the commission of encouraging, quote, this political lawfare by endorsing political candidates, making donations, accepting complaints from politically partisan people. All right. Well, he's got a mess going on right now involving an OBGYN who said that that she saw a 10-year-old patient coming over to Ohio, traveling to Indiana to get an abortion, that obviously that doctor was fined by the Indiana Medical Licensing Board for sharing payment information. So Rokita and Brown apparently going at it with each other. But here's the thing. You got a fight going on there about immigration, and the federal should exceed state. I'm still wondering about the thing about having someone who's not documented working on your staff, working in your company, working in wherever that you happen to. So employees cannot work for someone and be undocumented. Thought we already had that act going into place. Could be wrong. Well, now you know what's going on down in Indianapolis. More fodder, more nonsense, and more political bickering, or as we like to call it, lawfare, is going on in the state of Indiana, and it's right down there in the State House for everybody to see. And now you know. Well, if you will allow me to pull back the curtain, if you will, a little bit about me that maybe you don't know or frankly don't even care, but I'm from a place called El Paso, Texas. That's where I graduated from high school, graduated from college. So I know a little bit about what's going on down in the border of El Paso, Texas and Mexico, Juarez, Mexico. So I've seen things happening down there, especially dating back to Cinco de Mayo, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Cinco de Mayo we just had. And of course people here celebrating, going out to a dinner, eating tacos, drinking margaritas, and doing whatever they do, and wearing serapes, sombreros, and false mustaches. But you know what? What is Cinco de Mayo to the people in Mexico? Frankly, it ain't much. This has to do with a battle that was fought back in the 1800s against the French. And it was 1862. It was called the Battle of Puebla. And French forces fighting the Mexicans. And the Mexicans were not well equipped. French were, obviously. They were an army. And, well, the Mexican army beat the French army. Woohoo! Big deal. And the Mexican army was led by Ignacio Zaragoza. Well, they celebrated down there in the Puebla area every year. It's kind of that thing, but it's not a national big thing down in Mexico, folks. So you're saying, well, wait a minute. Then why is it a big thing up here? It's called marketing. That's right. Believe it or not, a manufacturer, a brewer, can I say that, of cerveza, said, we got to figure a way to get the gringos up in America to drink more beer. And you know what we ought to do? We ought to use a date and get them to say, hey, it's the day to go out drinking and having fun and get yourself bagged. Oh, let's have a big holiday. Let's put it on hey, gringos won't know. Let's make it the Cinco de Mayo, 5th of May. That's what they did. It's a commercial holiday, folks. It's a flat-out commercial. Yes, there was a battle, 1862. I understand all of that. But in Mexico, it's not a big deal. People in Mexico really don't celebrate it. At least when I was down there in Juarez, they didn't celebrate it. Now, over in El Paso, well, hell yes, everybody went out and got bagged. But it really wasn't that way. So here we are, America, celebrating Cinco de Mayo. But in some cities, like Chicago, they did not celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Because a lot of people with a Mexican heritage are going, okay, fine, we're getting along with it. We'll have a little party. We'll come with the taco truck, whatever. We'll get out there, enjoy ourselves, and have a little fun, knowing it's not a big deal. But they didn't do it in Chicago. No Mexican celebration. You want to know why? Because they figured that the immigration people will be out looking for them. That's right. The immigration people would be looking for them if they were partying, and Tom Homan, the head of the Border Patrol, would say, hey, I'm going to find you. Well, you got to understand something. If you've been told to get out, if you've had the hearings to get out, get out. If you're here illegally, well, you can deport yourself if you want, come back in, do it legally. The people here legally are fine. The people here that are here illegally are not fine. Right now, the Border Patrol people are looking for the bad people and get them out, because they are truly the bad people. But the word is, don't go out and celebrate the street, because the immigration people will be looking for you, and they'll be spotting you and grabbing you up and sending you back to Mexico. If you're here illegally, you understand. If I went down to Mexico and decided I want to be down there illegally, let me tell you what, if I get caught down in Mexico trying to be there and I shouldn't be there, I'm going to be in the Gray Bar Hotel, guarantee you. And getting out is not going to be easy. It's just how it is. America's a great place. But if you want to be here the right way. Come in the right way. Apply and become a citizen, and frankly, learn the language. That's part of what you're supposed to do. I'm just telling you all this because Cinco de Mayo, that's a holiday for a beer company to get you to drink more. Apparently it works. But is it a holiday that the people in Mexico just chase after and celebrate? Not really. It's a minor holiday. But it's still important to them. They just don't celebrate it the way we do in America. Well, a new executive order has been issued by the President of the United States, and this is one, well, some might find it kind of strange, but when you think about it, maybe it's not. The new executive order says truck drivers, hey, you guys out there driving the big rigs, the panel trucks, delivery trucks, or whatever, you are now going to be required to speak English. Now, people are saying, well, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't matter, truck drivers. Yes, it does. If something ever happens, let's say a police officer has to pull over a truck driver, or someone from the DNR, or someone from the highway department, whatever, has to pull over a truck driver, and the truck driver can't speak in English to the police officer, what's the police officer going to have to do? It's got two options. Option one, learn to speak Spanish, or have a Spanish background. Or option number two, they're going to have to hire translators. Bring them out to the site, wherever it is. Or can you imagine a police car having to have a translator riding along in every single police car from the highway patrol just to make sure they can talk to a truck driver who can't speak English? And if they can't speak English, well, does it mean they can speak some other language? Whether it's Vietnamese, whether it's Thai, whether it's French, whether it's, who knows? There's the problem, folks. You see, in the United States, maybe we need an official law that says English is the official language of the United States. Think about it this way. I'm going back to 1913. President Teddy Roosevelt said this. He said, unless you have a common language in a country, you don't have a country. And I think he's right. If you think about it this way, we all came from different heritages. We all came from different countries. Whether we came from the northern areas, Sweden, Norway, whatever, Denmark, Spain, England, France, Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia, we all came to America. And one of the things that we end up having to do so we could all communicate with each other was to learn one language. And that language of the United States is English. And that allows us to be, well, one country, regardless of where we came from. Everybody speaks English. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but around the world, in the airplane industry, everybody in the airplane industry speaks English. Worldwide. You go to another airport in another country, the people you're going to talk to on the ground speak English. Imagine an airliner flying from, say, the United States to Rome. And suddenly he gets into Roman airspace and suddenly the pilot has to speak in Italian or German or Austrian or Spanish or French. That's the thing. Everywhere in the world, the common language for the airline industry worldwide is English. So, the president says, truck drivers, you must learn to speak English. Well, here's the thing. Maybe we in the United States ought to think about having a common language, so that language should be English. Because if we don't have a common language, the America we know, and the America that's been around for 200 and some odd years, will vanish. Because it will be a country of all different origins, and nobody will be one and the same with all the rest of us. We will all be different because we will all adhere to our own language, our own culture, and that, friends, will destroy the country that we love. Well, here it is, springtime. Football season is over. The draft season is over. Yeah, okay, you've got the NBA playoffs that are going on, if you're a fan of the NBA. Major League Baseball is going on. But America is looking for something to watch, something they can grab into, get their teeth into, and talk about with their friends and neighbors when they're at work around the water cooler or at home talking over the fence. Looks like you may be getting your wish. Because apparently Sean P. Diddy Combs, a named rap artist, whatever he is, has decided to turn down a prosecutor's offer and saying, hey, I ain't taking your offer. Let's go to trial. You heard me right. Sean P. Diddy Combs has told the prosecution, I ain't taking your offer. We're going to go to trial and let's hear it out. Now, why is that a big thing? Because he has been accused of some very serious felonies. I mean, things like kidnapping and forced labor and arson and bribery, and the list goes on. His freak parties. You probably heard about some of those freak parties and all the major name celebrities who were involved with those parties. Now, it ain't Jeffrey Epstein. P. Diddy doing his own thing. But if this trial goes on, and it's going to start on May the 12th, now it's a federal trial, so I don't know if they're going to have cameras or they're going to have audio or anything like that. My guess is they probably won't, federal trial, have sketch artists doing drawings. But if it's a regular trial, one, they're going to have to find a jury. Find a jury of people who have no opinion in New York City? Are you kidding me? That's going to be tough to do right there. They say this trial could take 8 weeks. 8 weeks. And a whole lot of big-time celebrities could be called to testify. And if they are, apparently there's a lot of videos. And those videos could be shown in court. And if those videos show big-time celebrities and some of the stuff they were doing, you could ruin some careers pretty doggone quickly. Very quickly. And I am sure there's a whole bunch of celebrities out there that are starting to quake in their boots because they know now a trial is going on. Sean Diddy Combs, P. Diddy, has said, I ain't taking a plea bargain deal. I'm going to fight this out in court. And that has said the word out to everybody involved with him that, hey, you could be called to testify, and hey, video of you doing whatever it is you were doing with whomever it was you were doing it with could be shown to the world. That could be your summer and springtime entertainment, folks. So get ready. It'll be on probably every newscast. It'll be on every TV show. It'll be jokes being made by the late night comics. Everybody's going to have something to say about it, but everybody's going to be watching it. And my guessing is that it's going to be the big hit of the summer. The Sean P. Diddy Combs trial in New York City, and all the dirt, scum, and nastiness that we're liable to hear. And let's see what celebrities are brought in to testify. It might be very, very interesting. And it starts on May the 12th. Get ready, America. Your summertime entertainment is about to begin. Normally, I would sit here and talk about things the federal government does, and some of the stuff, the federal government stuff, is stupid. Some of the stuff that happens in our city is stupid. But here's one involving our state that, well, probably in my estimation, is also stupid. The Indiana House and Senate passed a bill that sent to the governor, and he signed it. Now, what is this bill? Well, this bill creates what's called the Indiana-Illinois Boundary Adjustment Commission. Big words, right? Big words. Well, you know what it does? It sets up a commission to determine looking about the possibility of adding parts of Illinois into the state of Indiana. You heard me right. 33 counties in the state of Illinois have indicated by referendum they want nothing to do with the state of Illinois because Chicago is running everything and they're downstate and getting nothing. And they're tired of it. They're saying, hey, we want to move into another state. Well, so Indiana complies and creates a commission, right? Governor signs the bill. Now there's a commission. So the commission deal is this. Indiana appoints 6 members, none of whom can be part of the Indiana General Assembly. Well, they can be from other parts of government, but not part of the Assembly. Now, there's 6. Illinois, through the governor of their state, Governor Pritzker, he appoints 5 commissioners if he wants to. However, it takes 6 commissioners, 6 individuals of the commission to be able to do anything because that's what they have for a quorum. Well, Indiana's got 6, and Illinois doesn't have to appoint any commissioners, and they can still do whatever they do without Illinois being involved. And the chances are of them being involved are slim and none and slim left down. All right, so let's just say that the commission says, okay, Illinois, we want to take you guys into Indiana. Well, Illinois, that's all well and good, but 2 things have to happen then. The state of Indiana has to say, yes, we want to annex in counties from Illinois, make the state bigger. State would have to approve that. But the state of Illinois has to say, okay, we want to get rid of 33 counties out of the state of Illinois and send them to the state of Indiana. Now, that could be good or bad. Are they sending the debt from the state of Illinois, which, by the way, is pretty massive, and I mean massive, sending the debt with those other counties? Yeah, you get their debt too. Well, maybe not. But does Illinois want to lose 33 counties and just be a Democrat-run state? Well, they already are, so I don't think they'd really care. All right, so you got to get 2 states to approve, and then it has to go to the United States Congress. And the Congress, both the Senate and the House, have to vote to approve moving the counties from one state to another state. Folks, they can't figure out what to do in Washington, D.C., much less figure out moving counties to another state because, and here's the really big part, because if they do that, let's say they say, okay, gee whiz, we'll let Illinois counties move into Indiana. Well, then other states around the United States who are kind of not pleased with their representatives at their state capitals are going to say, dang, well, they did it for Illinois and Indiana. They can do it for Oregon, California, whatever state you're thinking about. Counties could say, well, hell, we'll go with this other county. We'll go to this other state. They did it for them. They can do it for us. So what you've done is you've opened up a giant can of worms. The can of worms could result in chaos of epic proportions that you would not believe when you see it. So, having this new commission set up by law tells me that whatever's going on in the Indiana House and Senate, they got way too much time on their hands, folks. They ought to be starting doing stuff that's really important that deals with you and me, not what's going on in another state, because it ain't going to happen. Illinois is not going to let 33 counties go. And if they did, they're going to send all the debt in the state of Illinois with them. And do we want to take that on? I don't think so. My particular opinion on this: it's a bad law. Should have never have been signed, and it's going to amount to a hill of beans. Nothing. Think Illinois is going to allow this to happen? And then you think Congress is going to approve something like this when every other state might want to be doing the same thing? Ain't going to happen, America. Something you need to know because, well, it's a stupid idea and it should never have been brought up in the first place. Well, I don't know if you're a reader of the New York Times. Apparently, a lot of people don't. But I thought I'd fill you in on something that they are now publicizing, but it caught my attention. It had to do with former President Joe Biden. Now, remember, New York Times is the newspaper, and their motto was all the news is fit to print. They call them the Gray Lady, the classic newspaper in the United States that knows everything and tells everything. Well, now they're telling a very interesting story, and it deals with what happened at the White House in early 2024. Now, that was, a year and a half ago. Joe Biden was still in office. And people in his staff, people in the White House, in the West Wing, knew something wasn't right with Joe Biden. They knew it. Nobody wanted to say anything. And anytime anybody brought it up, it was brushed off, brushed aside, and said, oh, no, he's perfectly fine. Well, then some talk happened in the White House, and keep in mind, this is like a year before the election. So they decided, hey, maybe we ought to contact a medical people, a doctor, and see about running a cognition test on President Joe Biden, a cognitive test. This is not an SAT or an ACT or an LSAT or any of those things. This is a test designed to see if, someone with a deteriorating mental condition is capable of taking care of themselves, or if they have to be put under care and, in different types of facilities, kind of learn of how bad they are, how things are going, and, where things are going. So that was the concern of the staff in the White House back in early 2024. But remember, throughout 2024, everybody was saying, oh, he's in perfect health, he's sharp as a tack, nothing is wrong. Heck, you even had Joe Scarborough on MSNBC castigating people, said, F you if you don't believe this, he's perfectly fine, he's in wonderful shape. Everybody in the media, at least in the legacy media, was saying that nothing was wrong and everything was fine. Well, this doctor they contacted, according to the New York Times, said, hey, look, I'll conduct the test, but if he fails it, I'm not lying. Now, think about that for a second. Doctor said, if I conduct the test and he fails the test, I ain't lying. I'll tell people what's going on. Well, so the White House staff decided, nah, we're not going to do that. Can't get that out if something doesn't work, as they figured he was going to fail. All right, so here's what happens. It gets even worse, and then he has the debate. And obviously we know what happened in the debate. And we know later on the George Clooney wrote the editorial in the New York Times saying, oh, Jill, you got to step down. But his wife, Jill, was not having anything of it. She was as firm can get. She was rock hard. I ain't stepping down. I like being in the White House. I like running the rodeo. And I want to keep running. Okay. She's Joe's caretaker, so apparently that was her position. That's fine. But the 25th Amendment, you got to remember, this was designed, 25th Amendment was designed back in the first Trump era, 45, and to say that, hey, he can be removed from office if the vice president goes to the cabinet members and says, hey, cabinet members, he ain't got it. It's bad. Ultimately, that is the one way you can remove a president if the vice president goes to the cabinet and says, hey, this guy ain't got it. All right, just keep that in mind. So, apparently, eventually, Kamala Harris was contacted by, and we don't know who. Was it Nancy Pelosi? Was it Chuck Schumer? No one really knows who it was, but somebody contacted the president, contacted Kamala Harris and said, hey, look, we got to get this guy out of here. We can't have him run. He ain't going to win. He's got a real problem. The dementia is getting worse, and something needs to be done. So hey, you need to step in, call the 25th Amendment, go to the cabinet and get him out. Kamala apparently said, sure, I'll do it, but I want to run. And then, of course, the people pushing on this went, well, we got the convention coming up, and no, I want to run. If I do this, you have got to put me in running for office. I will be the presidential candidate, not anybody else chosen at the convention, which answers the question why there was no voting at the convention, why it was all done in quick wham bam, thank you ma'am, over the telephone by proxy. So that's what happened. So ultimately, Joe has to step down, and because Kamala was the one who went and said, I'm pulling the 25th Amendment, and Jill was extremely upset about it. And obviously, a lot of bad blood between those two, between Kamala and Jill Biden. Needless to say, now we know what happened in history. But now the New York Times is saying, oh, you know what? We knew about this a long time ago. And the White House knew about it a long time ago. And the legacy media knew about it a long time ago. So, America, now you get to think about what happened. All the major media was telling you that everything was hunky-dory, perfectly fine, and nothing was wrong. Are you going to continue to believe that down the road? It's your call if you do. But right now, remember, you have a lesson, and hopefully that lesson sticks. Well, let me ask you something. Are you someone who shops at Target? I mean, Target's a very popular store. It's been around for a long time. And frankly, they are a big store, and we have various Targets here in the city. But do you shop at Target? Well, it turns out that Target and other places are having a very big problem because, well, they were trying to get everybody to use the self-checkout machines. And if anything irritates you, and I know it irritates me, I do not. I do not like to use self-checkout machines. I figure I'm going into a store, I'm paying big money for the products they're selling. I want to have somebody check me out and put the stuff in and put the stuff in the bag stuff. And so I can stand there and go, okay, that's fine. But I do not like self-checkout machines. Sorry, I don't. And what even angers me even more, when I see somebody with a full, great, big, giant basket full of stuff, and they're at a self-checkout machine. You know what that tells me? Maybe those people with a big bag of stuff trying to get some things through the self-checkout machines without paying for them. Turns out that's exactly what's happened at Target. Yep, Targets all across the United States are now beginning to get rid of the self-checkout machines, or telling people in line you can only have 10 items or less to do self-checkout at your friendly neighborhood Target store. Why? Because Target is massively having a huge problem with theft. Yeah, they call it shrinkage. Okay, that's the official term in the retail business. Well, we have a lot of shrinkage. Their shrinkage is beyond belief. People are going up there with the big buggies full of stuff, checking stuff out, but not checking everything out that they've got in the basket. And Target's suffering a whole lot of theft going on. And now they're saying, we got to stop this. So what they're trying to do is to eliminate the self-checkout machines. Walmart is doing the same thing, by the way, and frankly, that's getting a lot of people upset. You go to Walmart and you go, well, there are no checkout lanes, and if there are only 2 or 3 of them, and the people are lined up clear to the back of the store. But they want you to use the self-checkout lanes. If you go to a Meijer, you're lucky to find a standard checkout lanes because virtually everything there is self-checkout. They got people there watching you like a hawk. However, Target is finding out this isn't going too well, folks. This whole concept of doing a self-checkout is costing them a boatload of money because of the shrinkage they're suffering. People are going to machines and not checking everything through the machine that is in their basket. Where I come from, they call that theft. I don't know what you call it, but that's what it is. But it's rampant at Target. And now they're saying, okay, we're going to have our keepers there, our minders, the landlords or whatever they call themselves at the checkout, making sure that you only have 10 items or less. Because they're figured you got more than 10 items, Looks like you're not going to charge yourself for those additional 10 items. That's obviously what they're thinking. And apparently that's been the fact lately, with people coming up with big grocery carts full of stuff and not, checking them all out properly. All right, so there's the problem, America. People do not like the self-checkout lanes because they keep putting more of those in and doing less cashiers. The trouble is, when they do that, less cashiers, there's still people like me that likes to go to the cashier. I had a little small thing. I had like 4 items today. 4 items. I went to the checkout lady. Why? Because I'm paying 4 items. I don't want to do it myself. That's not the way. If you want me to do it myself, and give me a discount, okay? If I check it out myself, give me a 10% discount on my entire order, and I'll be happy. At least I'll be happy to check it out myself. But right now, I don't like the idea of that, especially pushing the buttons. Oh, and then the worst thing is, you want to get some cash back? Oh, sorry, this machine doesn't give you cash back. Well, I could get that at the register. Just saying the things that irk me. Maybe they irk you, maybe they don't. But now you know, Target's found out those checkout lanes are costing them a whole lot of money in shrinkage, or as we like to call it, theft. People stealing stuff. Now they're trying to figure out how to get it back. Well, put in more registers. But then again, that means you got to hire more people. And apparently, they don't want to do that. Just telling you what the life is in the world of retail. Well, way back in April, you might remember a story that was going around involving the North River property. Now, that's that big, giant 25 acres of land right there off of Clinton Street, just before you hit the St. Mary's River. It's been vacant for a long, long time. Used to be an OmniSource property. They sold it to the city, and then for some reason they had to do some sort of survey or some sort of inspection of the property, and a secret inspection that, never been totally released to the best of my knowledge. But I could be wrong. Well, anyway, a couple of gentlemen decided, hey, we'd like to buy the property. And it's a Chuck Sirach, well-known Sweetwater guy, and Daryl Doden. So these are high-powered Fort Wayne guys, offered the city of Fort Wayne $12 million for 25 acres. Now you break that down, it's about $400,000 per acre. The city, though, says, no. We want to build a field house with taxpayer money, I presume, although if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm sure they'll correct me if they figure this out. Because that's the only way they're going to build a field house. I don't know who they're going to find to say, gee whiz, we're going to have private investors in this thing and we, the city, are going to own it and run it. I don't think private people work that way. But the city says we want to build a big, giant field house, which is nothing more than a great, big, giant gymnasium. And how are they going to support that with the taxpayer dollars? Where are they going to get the money to do it? And how are they going to keep it going? That's a question I have to ask. Now, so that was back in April. The city said to Mr. Doden and Mr. Sirach, sorry, we're not going to sell it. Well, now a new letter has come out. Recently been sent by Mr. Doden and Mr. Sirach to the mayor and the mayor's people saying, hey, you didn't even politely tell us what was going on and slap in the face to us. We're just trying to get this thing worked out. We're offering you a great deal on the land. And I don't know about you, but if they want to spend $12 million on a piece of property that might be condemned, we don't know, and pay $400,000 an acre, that money could be used to resurface a whole lot of roads in the city of Fort Wayne. And let's be honest, that money would be helping to make everybody drive a little bit better and save your car from being trashed by the potholes. Just saying. And anybody who's driven on Coldwater Road between Till and Wallen will tell you about the problem with the potholes. Just saying. Now, $12 million. And so now we have two groups at odds with each other a little bit. And I'm not sure really where it's going, because right now the city says, hey, your offer's off the table, we're letting it expire, we're going to do it our own way. And obviously, you've got two powerful men with a lot of money saying, we want to buy it. The city saying, no, it's ours. We're going to hold the cards. We're going to do what we want to with it. So a battle has erupted. Now, it's a low-level battle, but still it's something, okay, citizens of Fort Wayne, do you want your taxpayer money going for a giant gymnasium, a big auditorium? And how's it going to be funded, and how they're going to keep up the funding and pay for it once it's built? Is that what you want your taxpayer money for? Or do you want it to go to fix the roads, which you drive on? Or have some private individuals take it over and build whatever they want and let people decide what they want to do? That's the quandary that's going on right now, folks. So the battle over the 25 acres of North River property apparently is continuing. Where will it go? Right now, nobody knows. I'm just telling you what's happened. It's not pretty. Will it end in a nice way? I can only hope. But right now, it does not look pleasant.